The hospital buzzed with its usual intensity, a chaotic symphony of footsteps, monitors beeping, and hurried voices exchanging updates. Dr. Elena Rivera, a cardiothoracic surgeon in her early 30s, navigated the chaos with a practiced calm. She had grown accustomed to this rhythm, the pressure and pace sharpening her focus rather than overwhelming her. "Elena, I need you to look at this," called Dr. Meyer, her mentor and head of the department. His tone carried a weight that immediately caught her attention. Taking the file from him, she flipped it open and skimmed the contents. Her eyes caught the name, Emma Larson, a 6-year-old girl with a severe congenital heart defect, the kind that rarely made it past infancy without intervention. But Emma had defied the odds. The case had been reviewed by specialists across the country, all of whom had reached the same conclusion: inoperable. "She's already been seen by 5 other surgeons," Meyer explained, his voice low. "The family's desperate, but the risks outweigh the rewards." Elena scanned the medical scans, her brow furrowing. "They recommended palliative care?" Meyer nodded. "She's deteriorating fast. Her heart can't sustain her much longer. They've come to us looking for a miracle." The word miracle hung in the air. It was a word that Elena had complicated feelings about. Miracles weren't the domain of science. They were anomalies, happenstances. But as she looked at Emma's scan, a tiny possibility glimmered in her mind. Hours later, she met Emma and her parents. The little girl sat quietly on the hospital bed, clutching a well-loved stuffed giraffe. Her cheeks were pale, her movements lethargic, but her eyes sparkled with curiosity as they locked onto Elena. "Hi, Emma," Elena said softly, crouching down to meet her gaze. "I'm Dr. Rivera. I'm here to see how we can help you." Emma's parents, Tom and Linda, sat close by, their anxiety evident in their clenched hands and tear-streaked faces. "We've been told," Linda began, her voice cracking. "We've been told there's nothing more that can be done. But we can't give up on her. Please tell us there's something you can try." Elena glanced at the scans again. The risks were astronomical, but the alternative, doing nothing, was certain death. "I'm not going to lie to you," she began, her voice steady but kind. "This would be one of the most complex surgeries I've ever attempted. The risks are high, but I believe there's a chance. A small one." The room fell silent as Emma's parents absorbed her words. Linda clung to her husband's hand, her grip turning white-knuckled. "A chance," Tom murmured. "That's more than anyone else has given us." The meeting ended with tentative hope, but Elena knew the real battle was just beginning. Convincing the hospital's ethics board and her skeptical colleagues would be an uphill climb. That night, as the city lights twinkled outside her office window, she stayed late, poring over Emma's file and running simulations. For Elena, this wasn't just another case. It was personal. Memories of her younger brother, Marco, flooded her mind. He had been diagnosed with a congenital heart condition when they were children. Back then, no surgeon had dared to operate, and Marco had passed away at 9 years old. Elena had made a promise to herself that day. She would become the kind of doctor who didn't give up when others did. "This time," she whispered to herself, "I won't fail." The morning sun cast a pale glow over the hospital as Elena strode into the conference room, holding Emma's file close to her chest. The hospital's ethics board, a group of senior doctors and administrators, sat around a long table, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. "Dr. Rivera, please present your case," the chairperson said. Elena took a deep breath and began. She outlined Emma's condition in detail, her proposed surgical plan, and the potential outcomes. She didn't sugarcoat the risks. There was a significant chance Emma wouldn't survive the procedure, but she emphasized the alternative, a life measured in weeks, not years. "I've run simulations," she concluded. "There's a narrow window of opportunity, but it's there. I believe we owe it to Emma to try." The room erupted in murmurs. Dr. Meyer was the first to speak. "Elena, I admire your determination, but this surgery is unprecedented. One wrong move, and the consequences could be catastrophic for Emma and this hospital's reputation." Another board member chimed in, echoing concerns about liability and ethical responsibility. Elena held her ground. "I understand the risks, but isn't it our duty to push boundaries when the alternative is certain death? Emma deserves a chance." After hours of debate, the board reluctantly approved the procedure. Elena felt a mix of relief and apprehension. The real challenge lay ahead. Assembling her team was the next hurdle. She approached Dr. Anwar, a vascular surgeon known for his precision, and Nurse Carla, who had been her right hand in the OR for years. Both agreed, though Anwar admitted his reservations. "You're asking us to perform something that's never been done successfully," he said. "I know," Elena replied, "but if anyone can do it, we can." The team worked tirelessly in the days leading up to the surgery. They rehearsed every step, ran simulations, and reviewed contingencies. Elena barely slept, consumed by a mixture of fear and determination. The night before the operation, she visited Emma's room. The little girl was asleep, her giraffe tucked under her arm. Linda sat by the bedside, her eyes red from crying. "Thank you for not giving up on her," she whispered. Elena nodded, her throat tight. "I'll do everything I can." The OR was tense as the team prepped for surgery. Elena stood at the head of the table, her hands steady, but her heart pounding. "Let's begin," she said. The first hour went smoothly. The team navigated the initial incision and positioned the grafts as planned. But midway through, Emma's heart rhythm began to falter. Anwar's voice cut through the tension. "We're losing her." "Stabilize!" Elena barked, her mind racing. She adjusted the graft placement, her hands moving with practiced precision. The monitors stabilized, and the team exhaled collectively. As the hours stretched on, the stakes grew higher. Every move felt like balancing on a knife's edge. At one point, Dr. Simmons, the retired surgeon acting as a consultant, murmured, "I've seen seasoned surgeons crumble under less pressure. You've got steel in your veins, Rivera." Finally, after 12 grueling hours, the team completed the procedure. Elena stepped back, her scrubs soaked with sweat, her body trembling with exhaustion. The monitors showed stable vitals, but Emma's recovery would depend on the next 48 hours. The waiting room was eerily quiet as Elena approached Linda and Tom. They stood, their faces etched with fear and hope. "She made it through the surgery," Elena said, her voice soft but steady. "Now we wait to see how her body responds." Tears streamed down Linda's face as Tom hugged her tightly. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice breaking. For the next 2 days, Elena stayed close to the ICU, monitoring Emma's recovery. Each small milestone, a steady heartbeat, improved oxygen levels, felt like a triumph. On the third day, Emma opened her eyes. Her gaze found Elena, and she smiled weakly. "Hi, Dr. Rivera," she whispered. Elena's chest tightened. "Hi, sweetheart. You're doing so well." Emma's parents rushed into the room moments later, their relief palpable. Elena stepped back, letting them bask in the joy of seeing their daughter awake and stable. Word of the surgery spread quickly. Elena's colleagues, many of whom had doubted her, now approached her with newfound respect. Even Dr. Meyer admitted, "You proved me wrong, Rivera. Well done." Weeks later, Elena was invited to present Emma's case at a prestigious medical conference. Standing before an audience of her peers, she shared the journey, the risks, the challenges, and the emotional toll. "This wasn't just about science," she said. "It was about hope, about believing in the impossible. Medicine isn't just about what we know, it's about what we dare to try." The audience gave her a standing ovation. That evening, as she returned home, her son Mateo ran into her arms. "Did you save her, Mama?" he asked, looking up at her with wide eyes. "Yes," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We did." Elena knew the fight to save Emma wasn't just about one life. It was about proving that miracles are sometimes the result of grit, determination, and refusing to give up. And as she tucked Mateo into bed that night, she finally allowed herself to rest, knowing she had done her part to keep hope alive.